Back to something you said earlier, because I was thinking about this, the general disconnect amongst men and women these days. You used the word feminism earlier.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of changes in society's expectations and views of the role of a man and a woman in a relationship, but more broadly in the workplace and society. And this has caused a lot of interesting dynamics that I think might be having an impact on people's expectations and their amount of satisfaction in dates. Some of the studies I was looking at ahead of your arrival today was one study that shows that 71% of people say it's very important for a man to be able to support family financially, to be a good husband or partner. But by comparison, only 32% say it's very important for a woman to do the same thing. And that's Pew Research survey. But also another study that said, this is on Sage Journals, that men showed less attraction towards women who outsmarted them. And when you look at the changes in income and intellect, in 1980, women earned about 60% of what men did. But by 2020, that had risen to 83%. There's obviously still issues with gender pay gaps and such. But what we're seeing here is the kind of macro trend is that women are more educated and have more money. The expectation that a man is going to be the provider in the household still persists. And men don't want to date, again, speaking generally, according to some studies that show attraction preferences, women that outsmart them.
Right. So the interesting thing is that when people say, I want to have flexibility, meaning a lot of women will say this. I want to have, they'll say, I absolutely expect that I'm going to have a career, but I also don't want to be the sole provider for the family. And if they're really honest, a lot of women will say, I would like my husband to earn more than me. At the same time, more women are getting college degrees. More women are getting graduate degrees. More women are getting ahead of men in those areas. And so women will also say, and I want someone who's as educated as I am. But there aren't as many men, just number-wise. So if there are more women who are educated, meaning college, graduate school, than men, but those women want men who have those degrees, there's low inventory of men who have that. And so there's sort of a problem with that. And so what I really want to encourage people to do is when they're dating, and this is not about lowering your standards, it's about saying to women, there are lots of kinds of intelligence. So you want to be with someone who is equally intelligent, but that doesn't mean that they have the same degrees that you have. Who do you want to talk to? Who do you have interesting conversations with?
Is this causing an issue for successful women that are over 30? I was reading an article, I think it was on the Washington Post, where a lady was interviewing another lady who had written a book called, I think it's called like The Gender Gap or something. Mm-hmm. And they concluded that much of the reason why successful women above the age of 30 were struggling in dating is because of this issue that men don't want to be with a woman that is like better than them, and it's somewhat emasculating to a man. And so I've had lots of private conversations with very successful women. I know a lot of successful women that are in very exceptional relationships, but I've also got a small cohort of women that tell me that they're struggling in dating because they're too successful and men don't like it and are emasculated. Is that true?
I think there's this narrative in our culture that women who are successful are not finding men because they're focused too much on their career. And I think that's absolutely false. I think that when you are out there in the work environment, you are meeting men. And that's where you're meeting other people, you're meeting other women who maybe are married and their husbands have friends. You're out there in the world and people are seeing you. So I think, and also you have meaning and purpose in your life and you're doing something you enjoy. And I think that that's very attractive. I think that I think that people are wanting someone who can not live their work, which is different from being successful. Because you want a partner who's also available to you. But I don't think that it's because women are too focused on their careers that that's what's happening. I think it's because of this gap that the women who are maybe achieving certain things in the world are not finding men who are achieving at the same level. And so there just aren't enough men for those women. The numbers just don't work out. And so then there's this question of, as a woman who is a very high achieving, do you have to be with somebody who is high achieving in the same way? And that's a very hard cultural shift for a lot of women to make. And the other problem is that when high achieving women want to be with high achieving men, a lot of those high achieving men are not great partners. And that's the thing that, so they might be dating a lot of high achieving men and maybe they are finding them, but then they find that this person doesn't have time for me, or this person isn't really nurturing, or this person is, married to his job and I don't like that. I think it's hard when you have two people who are extremely focused on their professional lives and neither one of them has time for the relationship. So I'm not saying, there are a lot of relationships where that works really well, where both people are very focused on their careers, but they also understand each other in a way that helps them. And then there are the relationships where you have two very high achieving people and they both expect that the other person is going to be more involved in the relationship to help them support their own career. And they can't because they're supporting their career. So you can't do both.
Yeah,